Hi there, I'm Keith Norris, and I'm going to talk today about the daily stand-up meeting. This is a meeting that is based on the principles from Agile and Scrum, and it's a meeting structure that really works for any leader running a team, but specifically for engineering teams or teams running an agile development process. And this is often referred to as the daily stand-up meeting, or I like to call it the daily huddle. Similar to a quick huddle on a sports field where a team gets together and works out what's happening on the next play. The daily stand-up is essentially a bit of a planning exercise that can be done with you and your team. I actually participate in a few of these each day at different levels. Some organizations, if you go back to like lean manufacturing, some of these meetings are even referred to as tier meetings or stand-up meetings in work cells. But this is really a management best practice that if you are a team leader, if you're a scrum master, this is something that you really should be doing with your teams. And if you've never done it before, it's really a simple meeting to do. It can happen in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on the size of your team, maybe even faster. It's really just a quick check-in with your team. Now, a lot of the best practices or methodology out there will give you the 3 questions that you should ask in the meeting. And I actually like to add to those questions a little bit and sometimes even add some additional questions to change things up, because I think that especially since people have gone to more remote work environments since COVID, etc., you've got the productivity benefits of these interactions, but there's also a bit of a team building and culture building benefit that comes from these stand-up meetings. If everybody's constantly just working on their own, you don't ever get a chance to interact. So getting a chance to interact, there's definitely some social and psychological benefits for the individual team members to connect for a few minutes and to collaborate. The benefits of these stand-up meetings are really a productivity improvement. I mean, productivity will be increased through the use of these meetings. You will eliminate other meetings throughout the day by having this one meeting. If you've got a question at 3 in the afternoon and you're thinking, oh, I need to contact so-and-so about this, I like to call them INU meetings, like INU, important, not urgent. If something's urgent, of course, you can reach out, you can ask, but if it's not urgent, you can save it for the next day in the stand-up meeting and get the answer that you need. So you can actually, all of your team members can stay in that flow channel, in that zone where they're being most productive and have fewer interruptions. So doing this one meeting each day can potentially help you eliminate other unnecessary meetings. Another benefit is that it will help you identify any blockers. It'll help you identify any impediments that are stopping people from moving forward. If you don't ask somebody what's stopping you from moving forward on a daily basis, it could be days or weeks before you find out that there was some impediment, or blocker is the term that's used a lot in Agile. And it gives people a chance to ask for help, gives people a chance to make commitments. The concept of building trust with team members, the act of building trust is really about making and keeping commitments. These daily stand-ups give you a lot of opportunities to make and keep commitments with each other. The team members tend to get a sense of who keeps their commitments from day to day, and so as a team you'll be better communicators overall. So let's get into the questions that are typically done as part of a daily stand-up or a morning huddle. Essentially, you get everybody together. If you can do this synchronously, it's really fantastic. I'll talk about some other ways to do this asynchronously, or what to do if you're stuck in traffic or somebody's out. Got some ideas to help you there too. But let's start with the essentials or the basics of the meeting. You can start with 3 questions. What did you do yesterday? What will you do today? And do you have any obstacles or impediments or blockers that are stopping you? Essentially, another way of thinking about this meeting that I really love is, what do I need to know and what do I need to share? This little concept, this little mantra, what do I need to know, what do I need to share, is one that you can use and apply to a lot of the meetings that you have to help you get really focused on what the purpose of the particular meeting is. So for this daily stand-up, think about everybody that comes to the stand-up should be a contributor to the meeting. It should be quick, it should be focused. What did I accomplish yesterday? What am I doing today? Do I have any blockers? You want to focus on getting the help that you need to move things forward ultimately. So now if you start doing these stand-up meetings, there's a lot of different ways that you can do them. If you're working with a remote team, if you're all in the same office, great. Come together around a huddle board. You can maybe jot some notes down on the huddle on a whiteboard. I like to call those huddle boards. If you're doing it remotely, you can use Teams, you can use Slack, you can use Zoom, you can use any of the meeting tools. And there's one tool that I really recommend, which is Standup Alice. So Standup Alice is a great plugin for Slack and or Teams and Google Chat and WebEx that you can put these little questions into, and it will send a prompt to your team members. And I love using this tool because it asks everybody the question in preparation of the meeting. So everybody gets a chance to basically put their answers down in writing. So I'll show you a little bit about that tool here in just a minute. Okay, so let's talk about what I like to refer to as dysfunctional behaviors in the daily stand-up. Now again, the daily stand-up is supposed to be a pretty short meeting. So dysfunctional behavior number 1, oversharing. Now, I've been in a lot of stand-up meetings where somebody on the team, maybe it's due to some insecurity, or maybe it's due to wanting to feel like maybe, again, probably an insecurity, wanting to feel like they're contributing. And sometimes everybody, people in the meeting are like, man, that dude likes to list every little thing that he did yesterday, and the stand-up meeting is, their turn goes too long, and they just talk about too much stuff, and everybody else is like, okay, come on, get on with it. So we'll call dysfunctional behavior number 1 the overshare. The idea behind explaining what you accomplished yesterday, it's particularly of interest if something that you did yesterday becomes a to-do for someone else. Let me give you an example. Let's say you've got a development and QA team, and maybe you finish a task, and a product manager or somebody needs to review that task, or QA needs to look at it, or documentation needs to look at it. Telling them that you did that and that it's moving to somebody else in the process would be a very helpful piece of information. Now, just going into great detail about something that doesn't matter to anybody else would definitely be considered overshare. So taking too much time to explain what you did yesterday without really adding a lot of value, definitely a dysfunctional behavior. So try to keep things to the point. Again, I really love using an app like Standup Alice because it gives people a chance to put the answers to each of their questions succinctly. People don't like to write as much as sometimes they like to talk, so you can get a little bit more succinct when they have a written version of it. Okay, so let's talk about dysfunctional behavior number 2, feeling like you need to justify every minute of your day. When we ask what did you do, what did you accomplish yesterday, we're not asking so that you can justify every single thing that you did. We just really want to get a summary of the commitments that you made, and were you able to move things forward. Dysfunctional behavior number 3, not being prepared when it's your turn. Now, we've all done it, especially, the more of these remote meetings that we have, the bigger that the meetings are, the more somebody else is oversharing, the more likely you are to tune out. And then let's say it's your turn and you kind of freeze, and maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody in your meeting, they freeze and they kind of forget the thing that they wanted to say, or they forgot to mention something that was really important. So not being prepared when it's your turn to speak in the stand-up is definitely a dysfunctional behavior. And if you're somebody who gets nervous, then the way around this is obviously to take a few notes, prepare for this. Again, I'm a huge fan of using an app like Standup Alice to capture the notes so that you can take a few minutes to prepare for your stand-up, put your answers in, and then when it's time, I still like to let people speak and add a little context to what they wrote down as part of the stand-up meeting. But having that written record to go with the verbal makes the meetings just so much better. Okay, dysfunctional behavior number 4, showing up late to huddle. it's very frustrating for everybody in the meeting. For, let's say, the person that goes first talks about some blocker, you guys get into a little conversation, some key piece of information is brought up, and then somebody shows up 3 minutes or 7 minutes late to huddle right at the end of that conversation. The first thing they do is ask the same question. Super annoying, super frustrating for everybody else to have to like go into additional details. Don't be that person. Dysfunctional behavior number 5, getting busy and forgetting to show up at all. This has probably happened. I'll admit it's happened to me. It's probably happened to everybody who's been part of a stand-up for a long period of time. You get right in the middle of something and something comes up, or you get focused, or your timer doesn't go off, you don't get notified, whatever it might be. You're in some deep work and you just blow right through the 15 minutes that was supposed to be huddle. Definitely dysfunctional behavior, definitely something that can be solved, but not great. Dysfunctional behavior number 6, I'm going to call this one bad audio. So if you're using just the audio video screen share and somebody on the call has got some bad audio, man, it's really impossible to get a good stand-up report. So again, I love to have a written record of the stand-up meeting that can coincide so that as people are talking, you're actually showing a written record of what they're talking about. This is especially helpful for blockers, items that, stuff that is stopping productivity. Everybody's done it when you hear people talking and, you've got somebody who maybe is not the best to listen to. Like, it's hard to figure out if they're done talking about what they did, or you're tuned out for a few minutes while your dog's trying to get let out, or whatever the case might be. Definitely can be a challenge. Okay, the next dysfunctional behavior is the Scrum Master not showing up to the meeting. Look, I've been a Scrum Master. This has happened to me. I've been stuck in traffic when I was supposed to be at the office or back, getting back from the dentist appointment that I went to and couldn't make it back in time for the stand-up meeting. And because I wasn't there to start the meeting, and because I wasn't there to ask the questions, maybe the meeting didn't happen. And then I get there just 5 minutes after the huddle's supposed to be done and it's all over, and I don't have a record of it. And so now I'm kind of stuck, and I either got to reconvene the meeting or got to, try to do something tomorrow. So what I want to show you guys next is a tool that can help you solve all of these dysfunctional behaviors and just make your life better when it comes to the daily stand-up meeting. And this tool is called Standup Alice. So Standup Alice is a simple bot basically that plugs into Microsoft Teams or into Slack. There's also one for Google Chat and WebEx, so that each day, and you set the schedule of when you want your team members to get notified, they get a little prompt and it says, what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? Do you have any blockers? And you can also add some other questions in there. And I like to have some fun with these questions. So one day a week, I like to take one of these questions and I like to add a little bit of fun to it. So I want to, I want my team to get to know each other and want to understand each other and have a little empathy for each other and just appreciate each other. And so sometimes we'll ask just some other questions. Do you have a vacation planned? What are you looking forward to? What's a personal goal that you have? What did you do last weekend? I don't like to overwhelm people with this stuff, but once a week I like to add in what I refer to as a culture building question, and I can just pop into my little Stand-Up Alice and I can modify the questions. And it will actually ask the questions and it'll prompt those. And then when it comes time to run the meeting, we just jump on the screen share, we pull up our Slack or our Teams, and I've done meetings in both with Stand-Up Alice, and we just pull up the person's entry and we just scroll through it, and the person gets a chance to speak their entry. Now, the nice thing about this is we have a written record of what everybody has reported. If somebody can't make huddle for some reason, we still have a written record. We'll have somebody else just read through their stuff in case there's anything really critical. If somebody shows up late, we still have a written record of their stuff. If somebody is having bad audio, we have a written record of what they need to share. And generally, it just makes the huddle go so much better. The other thing I love about this tool is that it makes it easier if me as the Scrum Master, if I can't make the meeting, heaven forbid, for some reason, it still happens. Now, I know that some Scrum Masters are going to feel like, I don't know, like maybe if you're not the one running the meeting, that maybe you don't have value or something. But I will also remind you that most of the lean thinkers, agile thinkers, programmers, everything that we do is basically to eliminate not having to do it again, right? That's the reason why we do a lot of the things that we do in software in particular, is to try to automate something that was previously manual. So when it comes to running these Scrum meetings, one of my biggest recommendations, my biggest tip is to, of course, do the meeting, but number 2 is check out Standup, Alice, as a tool to help run the meetings so that your meetings happen every day. You get a chance to collect the written version of the responses. It just simplifies things so much, and it just takes this thing that's a good idea and it turns it into a process. And you'd be amazed at how just taking that little bit of responsibility and delegating it, it makes it so much easier to be a Scrum Master, to be a team member of an Agile team, and I just can't recommend it highly enough. So I've got a couple of blog posts that I want to point out here that you can check out if you want to look at this blog post that I have on the daily stand-up, and also put a link to Stand Up Alice if you want to check that out. Highly recommend it and definitely want to give it a chance. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, and hope to see you at the daily stand-up. Bye-bye.